Good evening, everybody. This is segment 2 of 3 segments, 3 days in a row that we're going to talk. And man, has there been a lot of activity. We picked the perfect night to be talking about the state of the state. And I just want to give it a couple of seconds while a few more people join us. Appreciate those who joined last night. And I just ask that if you would share the link to this video. We'll be putting it up on our locals as well as the public figure pages of Tammy and mine. You can follow us there, or you can subscribe to the YouTube channel. And whichever way you're watching, welcome, as we're simulcast on all of the above. So I'm sure a lot of you have been reading a whole bunch in the news. So I want to start out, though, by being excited about where we are. A lot that we have known about for almost a year now is beginning to come to the surface and bubble up. This governor is getting weaker by the day. People are beginning to recognize, thank God, that most of the decisions that she's made for almost a year have been over the top. They've been decisions that have not had any science or data behind them, but rather politics entirely. And what she has done to our economy, to our kids, and now what's beginning to bubble up again is what she's done to hide those details from we the people. And we're simply not going to stand for it any longer. It's finally being covered somewhat in the news, though I'm sure that there will always be distractions. And that's what we got today when the governor decided to come out, is a 100% distraction from reality, hoping that the media would cover how wonderful she is to allow these expansions or relaxation, as she says, of the lockdowns, right? So here in Michigan, now we're heading into the 11th month of this craziness. And these are craziness in regards to mandates and lockdowns. First, underneath that Unlock Michigan campaign, 1945 law that she operated under with all those executive orders, found to be all unilaterally unconstitutional October 2nd, and she pivoted to the health department. The health department was going to declare this emergency for as long as they see fit, and was going to basically lock us down for all of the holidays, lock our businesses and our restaurants and our gyms and our bowling centers and you name it, as well as the schools and the unions getting their pay. So let's just shut them down and everybody can teach and learn from home, right? That's where we've been for the last, November, December. Everybody thought it was a 3-week pause. Do you remember the word pause? It was a 3-week pause. That's what it was. And it got to be a couple more week pause in early December. And then we can't let you go back now because you're just going to go celebrate the holidays. So we're going to have to leave you locked down till mid-January, which became February, which of course we saw what transpired. So let's move forward to the news of the day. And this is kind of taken over exactly where I was going to be at, but it is relevant and it is something that has to be, the news has to be spread. So we all know that Gordon, the director of the DHHS, now this individual again has no healthcare background whatsoever, came from DC, worked on the John Kerry campaign, is an attorney. He was the one who ran and was responsible for these lockdowns. Now, he showed his face a couple of times, and then after that, it's like, I guess the governor's just relaying his words, right? That's what we assume. So interestingly enough, what I've got here in front of me is some of the details from today's news conference from none other than our illustrious governor. So the first thing is that we noticed is everything that she said in regard to the questions being answered. First, she thanked them for the question, plant. And I've got a nice written response here that I'm going to have as what she said. So she defended the arrangements Tuesday. While it remains unclear how many of these agreements have been reached, but she wanted to make it clear, due to the nature of this agreement, there's not a lot more that I can say on the subject, Whitmer said. Well, she created the agreement, right? She created the agreement so that she couldn't say anything. She created the agreement so that Gordon couldn't say anything. And what I want to talk to you about a little bit here is the timing of when the resignation happened with Gordon. He joined the administration on January 19th. He was a central figure during the so-called 15,534 deaths that happened in the state of Michigan. The news obtained by Gordon's separation agreement through an Open Records Act, the arrangement spurred criticism, of course. So the former health director, who had remained quiet since his departure, posted a 4-paragraph statement on social media after Whitmer's conference. Again, all planned out, all being done. But here is a key point for all of you. Gordon's resignation came less than 8 hours after he signed an extension January 22nd of the epidemic orders allowing restaurants to reopen at only 25% capacity at the beginning of February. The order was announced by Whitmer at a press conference at 9:30 the next morning. Gordon did not attend that briefing and indeed within 8 hours had submitted his resignation, which of course, as Governor Whitmer says, she accepted the resignation because, of course, that's what people do. And oftentimes in public life, there are agreements that get put into place, separation agreements. Now, this is the same governor, by the way, who had completely and utterly bashed Snyder and his agreement for a person who left his administration and got a 3-month so-called severance or package as they walked out the door. This one was a 9-month payout. Now, his resignation shouldn't have required any payout. And by the way, it's not her money, it's your money. This is taxpayer money being given to him along with a signed agreement that says you're not going to discuss this separation or why you resigned. We're not going to discuss or share the letter of resignation, if indeed there was a detailed letter of resignation. We're just simply going to say that you can't talk about what transpired while you were here. Imagine that. Lack of transparency. The state of Michigan's been 50th out of 50 during this entire time. And I don't care what the media tells you. I don't care what you read on social media. This governor's popularity rate is in the toilet. We know that it is taking a dive, even in the media, and they'll begin to turn probably sometime in the next year, or maybe they're going to turn early and then come back and talk about her being a savior again. She saved thousands of lives in her decisions, as she mentioned today. Thousands of lives have been saved, according to her. Those wouldn't be the lives of those. So here, let's go into something else she said today, because I had to write a few of the things down. This has been a very difficult process we've all had to go through during this time of this horrible pandemic. I'm paraphrasing her wording now. It has been very hard on seniors, probably really hard on those that have died. We'll leave that there for now. It's been very hard on students. It's been very hard on students because the decisions that she's made and the unions have made that have locked them up in their own homes, not learning in person, not spending time with the people that are in their classes or in their school system, not socializing for a year. Those were her decisions. Now she wants to blame that they were the decisions of Gordon. Oh, no, it's a decision of Elizabeth Hertel, who can't answer any questions, have refused to testify, by the way, before the House committee. It's been hard on small businesses. Well, it's been hard on a lot of the small businesses that are closed forever. Thousands of restaurants, thousands of businesses, the complete disastrous decisions that were made that put us in the top 5 of lockdowns, and yet the deaths per million do not at all put her in the top, that she's done a wonderful job, and do not let the media begin to tell you it is, because it isn't. This is where we're at with this governor. The wheels are coming off the buggy. The people are beginning to wake up as if we weren't already awake. But I'm telling you, what you're seeing, the difference right now is the media is asking a few questions, just a few questions. By the way, it was hard. It's been hard on everyone. And the people that have worked for the state of Michigan have had to suffer and gone through a lot during this time. I'm sure that it was tough for Mr. Gordon to take his $150,000 extra package along with his salary, or for Miss Esty to take the package that she was given on the way out the door as well. We haven't seen the details exactly of that, but I'm sure that it has been very difficult for them. Let's compare that to the people who couldn't get unemployment. Let's compare that to the people that were living in cars or didn't have a job and couldn't collect on what they needed, because in a matter of months and months and months, we couldn't do anything to fix that system. We couldn't hire enough people to answer the phones. No, we had to get a different form of ID. So let's touch on that for just a minute. I know I'm in a rant, but that's what the state of Michigan is about, is a rant. But don't worry, there's hope coming at the end of this conversation. So we talked about all of this, what the unemployment office required. We needed to have another second form of what? Let's all say it with me now. I can't hear you, but maybe you can put it into the chat. Identification. We need your identification. We need a copy of your driver's license. We need a copy of your birth certificate. We need a second form of ID. We could use a copy of your passport. We need to have that submitted. Oh, sorry, we didn't get it. Can you submit it again before we can send you your money, even though we've got your address, your social security number, your form of ID, your number that matches up with everything, and the copy from your employer that says that you've been laid off. But it's not enough to send you your money. It's not enough to send the money. I'm sorry. We need to get some other forms of ID, except when? Let's write it down here. Except for when we're going to vote. We don't need those. We don't even need one ID, let alone two. We don't need your driver's license. It would be unfair to ask for that. It'd be unfair to ask for a passport or a birth certificate or any form of ID in order for you to be able to vote. This is lunacy, people. She was represented by none other than she represents we the people and our messaging, right? That's what we're talking about. She represents us, we the people, not the other way around. And her restrictions have completely destroyed our economy. They have destroyed our school systems. They have destroyed our small businesses. They've destroyed individual lives. They've locked us up, locked us down, shut us down, and destroyed our individual rights and liberties and stepped all over them. And by the way, she's in the bottom 5, bottom 6. But you could throw California in there. Well, guess what? They have a governor out there that's in real trouble. We could talk about the hero of the left, Cuomo, right? We could talk about New York. He's been all over the news lately. Again, we got to do a distraction over there. Maybe it's about these women all of a sudden. They came out of the woodwork, I guess. That's the reason this man may have to go, not because of the nursing home deaths that happened in that state as well as our own. We've been asking for the science and data for going on 10 months now. Our legislature has been asking and holding hearings, asking for the details of the science and data, not just from the official nursing homes, but from senior care facilities. How many people came from those facilities to the hospitals and were considered a hospital death and not a death of a senior facility? We don't have those numbers because they're just not yours to give. They're not yours to get. We talked about this in the past, but I'm going to bring it up again. Back in March 13th, Hospital Association sent information directly to the governor's office on their letterhead saying, we have new facilities, repurposed facilities, and empty facilities where we can put the most vulnerable of our population. Please do not put them into nursing homes. Put them into these facilities. Our governor said no. Our governor placed the positive COVID patients. By the way, they were not all seniors who were placed in there. They were just positive patients put in there. Well, they were not letting you see your loved ones. They were placing positive patients into areas and places where there were no positive patients at the time. It then spread through the facilities, attacking the most vulnerable, creating statistics that required more lockdowns, and it was 100% her decision or her administration's decision or Robert Gordon's decision or whoever's decision it was in that administration that made those moves that killed thousands and thousands and thousands of Michiganders. And now we don't want to talk about it. Now we don't want to discuss what happened. But now guess what we have? We have a new person who's been appointed almost immediately, Elizabeth Hertel. She's going to be back before the committee, the Senate committee, who has to give advice and consent on Thursday, day after tomorrow. There are going to be some very difficult questions for her. She didn't seem to be able to answer very many of those the last time. And I say reject her. We need to reject anyone right now unless they can provide the metrics at which they're utilizing in order to continue any lockdowns in the state of Michigan. I'm not talking about cases. We're certainly not talking about hospitalizations or deaths because there almost are none. We don't know what metrics there are because they won't provide them to us. The hospital associate or the restaurant associations and others have tried to do everything they can to create something that is going to give us the ability to know when we reach this level, we will be free. It is not up to her to free us. It's up to us to free ourselves. We've been talking this about you to stand up, to open up, and 90% of you said no. 90% of you said, no, I want to be safe. I want to do what's right. I don't want to be targeted. We're going to continue to lock down for this pause. We're going to give her the benefit of the doubt. Well, it is a pandemic. When are we going to stand up, wake up, stand up, show up, and be done with this craziness? When are you going to pull those things off of your face and be able to say enough is enough? Which ties me to, I know it's a State of the State address, but I've got to talk about a state of a state right now. So forget where I put all these things. So today, I'm sure some of you read, but I'm going to put up a link to this. It already is posted on our Locals. If you're not a member of Locals, go to our website, sign up for our Locals. By the way, it'll stay up there. It won't stay on Facebook. It won't stay. You'll be considered fact-checked, no good, half-truth, whatever it is, and be filled with a bunch of crap. So join Locals where we can spread and give you and share with you real data. You can go to The Blaze. You can go to Epic Times. You can go to these places also to get truthful information. But here was one. So Texas today is fully reopening. The statewide mandate will be rescinded this week by Governor Greg Abbott. He announced that today. Effective next Wednesday, all businesses and any type are allowed to open at 100% capacity. The governor said at a news conference announcing as the end of the restrictions imposed to slow the spread of COVID-19, Abbott said that declining hospitalization rates across the state and increased distribution of vaccinations were the reason that they could make this move at this time. Texas is far better positioned now than it was when he made these executive orders back in October. And by the way, so is Michigan. So is Michigan. We're 50th out of 50 people. In some areas, we're 47th or 48th. But trust me, we're in the very bottom of the restriction. We're in the top of the restrictions, but meaning we are the least open to the most lockdown if we looked at that. He indicated that if a private business, imagine this, if a private business still wishes to limit its capacity or enforce other virus safety precautions, that business is free to do so without government mandates. It is, are you ready for this? It is their business. They get to choose how to operate their businesses the way they want to, Abbott said. At this time, however, people and businesses do not need the state telling them how or when to operate. State of our state. Can you imagine hearing those words out of our governor's mouth? No, she's apologizing and making you feel horrible and bad. It's been so difficult on us and so hard. We'll just work together and remain locked down at 25%. But no, not today. Not today. No, we're moving to what? 50% capacity from 25. What a gift. What a gift. We're still going to be 47th, 48th, 49th out of 50. In some areas, we're 50th, by the way. In transparency, we're 50th. The science and data that would tell us why we're doing what we're doing right now isn't there. And Hertel should never, ever be approved by our Senate unless she answers the questions, give us those metrics, tell us where we're at today, and tell us where we need to be. Because she doesn't have any, but she unilaterally will control your life and mine as long as we allow it. And I say we've had enough. Have you not had enough? So today, we announced 50% capacity, but let's get into this a little more. With a maximum of 100 people. One of the greatest things they must have figured out, this is in the metrics, I'm assuming, so we're going to talk about it. We are now going to go the curfew from 10 p.m. to 11 p.m. Something tells them that the virus no longer exists from 10 to 11. We knew it didn't exist until 10. It came out not with dark, but somewhere around the 10 p.m. area. They've now established today, miraculously, that the virus comes out at 11. We've got to shut you all down at 11 p.m. That'd be gyms, be restaurants, everything. We're also going to allow up to 15 people from 3 households. So that's 5 people from yours, 5 from the neighbors, and 5 from those across the street, or maybe just 5 relative family members that can come together for a maximum of 15 people Now, you can have 1,000 at the factory, but you can have 15 in your home because they don't want us to gather and talk about this. They don't want us to gather and talk about how we are not going to stand for this any longer and never going to allow it to happen to us again. They can't have that. So 15 people in private residences, while retail stores will be able to operate at 50% capacity. What a gift. What a gift. I don't know how many of them can make it at 50%, but I'm sure they're so thankful to the governor for just giving us a little more of our freedom back. Do not ever give up your freedoms one for another. Freedom of assembly is not a requirement of a pandemic, and we are no longer in an emergency if we ever were. It is time for us to rise up and stand up. And what I want to share with you, because I'm 20 minutes in, I promise to keep these down to 30 minutes. It is so important that we understand where we're at with our legislature today. The Michigan GOP today held a press conference on the steps of the Capitol at 4 o'clock this afternoon, 2 hours ago. They mentioned specifically there have been no metrics provided. There has been no science and data provided. And Jim Runstead and Senator Johnson both spoke there, saying that there are going to be a lot more questions coming down the road. They are looking legally at exactly what avenues and things that the legislature can do at this point in regard to Elizabeth Hertel's both a consent and also what they can require in the way of subpoenas. Subpoenas need to follow. We need to drag these people in because Elizabeth Hertel, and this is enough for the Senate myself, if she refuses to go testify before these oversight committees, she should never be affirmed. Do not talk to me about personal choices. I don't want to get personal. I have heard a few members have specifically said, I don't want this vote to be personal. Personal is the deaths in the nursing homes. Personal is the destruction of our small business and the destruction of our individual rights and the shutdown and lockdowns of our schools. That's personal. Senators, House members, whoever you are out there that may have made that comment, and you know who you are. It is time for the senators to stand united, the caucus to stand united and say, we will not affirm this one or any other until we have metrics, and the next person you appoint are going to have metrics or they will be turned away also. She can continue to put them up, but I guarantee you it's going to make her job a lot harder. She went out after the resignation of Gordon and gave these announcements that he signed on his way out the door. That is a horrible thing to do, and I want to call him in and ask him about it. I have been on the phone with House members. I've been on the phone with senators in the last 48 hours, and I can tell you they are angry. And the conservative movement, the conservative elements of our House and Senate are getting more and more emboldened, not by the actions of the governor, but by you. We, the people, in the last 9 months have emboldened them because the future of our party rests with you. The 72 counties that voted in favor of freedom and liberty and not on the favor of lockdowns, that we were going to have a bloodbath, is what was said. And yet we won and maintained the House. We maintained it with the same numbers we had, and we are going to increase those numbers 2 years from now with more and more conservative members who are going to run. And those rhinos that are out there that appear and disappear when necessary are going to be called out. You are going to be heard from. Your district and your counties are going to be telling you what is expected of you because you represent us. We're the people who put you there. We're the people that are going to reelect you in your primaries in August of next year. And those that want to come out and go, I cannot support someone who primaries, will give me a break. If they do not represent we the people and what we stand for, if they don't represent truth and justice and transparency, then they need to go. Resign now or don't rerun, because you're going to be primaried. You are not going to win. And no, I'm not telling you that we're going to stay back and let a Democrat win. We're not going to do that. We're going to be united because we have to be. President Trump, I mentioned I was going to bring him into this. His comments about not having a third party, we've got to stop talking about it. That is what the enemy is doing. It's trying to do is to separate us. The stories that you read on social media and in the media attacking certain members of our caucus or our leadership or our whatever is an attempt to get you angry at them so that we'll be separated in our minds and separated in our agendas and separated in our goals and separated in our resolve to take back not just this party. The party is already ours. It's just ours to claim it. But that means we have to do things and we have to join together. We have to join together at several places. We have to run for school boards and change the curriculum. We have to run for township and county boards and pass more resolutions and more censorship against those people that voted for impeachment. You know who you are, Meyer. You know who you are, Upton. I am sorry, but you are called out for the disgraceful votes that you took. You don't represent us. You don't represent our party any longer, and you will not be reelected. You can follow others who've decided not to rerun for whatever reasons you have, and I don't care how much money you have, because what we have is the strength and the will of the people. We need you. America needs every one of you. And we think Stand Up Michigan accomplished a lot last summer. This Unlock Michigan will be done. The 45 law will be gone. But they've seen nothing like what they saw last summer. This summer, we're gathering together in churches and in counties and communities, and we need you to sign up and we need you to share this video so that the people who will believe and agree with what it is that I'm saying will join with us. In magnificent numbers. We at Stand Up Michigan are creating a platform off of big tech so that we can't be censored. And our voices will be heard and your voices will be heard and your IP addresses and your information will remain private. We're going to provide you with that ability as well because you are being targeted whether you understand it or know it or not. Some people laugh about Facebook jail, laugh about, oh, they blocked this, they just discredited that, whatever. They have yes, they have a right to do that. We've got to get off there so you can speak freely and speak your mind. We're having roundtables with House members and Senate groups. We're going to be talking about current legislation and future legislation. And by the way, I'm also sick and tired of hearing we're not going to bring this up for a vote because she'll veto it anyway. I could care less. Because I want to hold a press conference on the Capitol steps once a week or every other week and say, these are the bills we put before you because this is the right thing for Michigan. This is the right thing because this is demanded of us by the people who put us here. You vote and put those bills on her desk. Let her veto them. Let them go on the ballot in 2022 and let her run against that. We together are going to accomplish some amazing things. And there's one other thing that's coming. We're going to have leaders, conservative leaders throughout the state that are joining together on calls. We're going to make sure that the messaging we pass to you comes through all the messaging, whatever conservative groups you belong to, whatever patriot group and freedom groups and conservative coalitions and whatever it is, understand, we are going to speak with one voice going forward. We may not have the same focus in each of our groups, but Stand Up Michigan's focus is freedom. That means we're bringing them all in under an umbrella. We're not asking to take away anything they stand for or what their focuses is or what their group are, but we're going to give them a voice on our platforms. We're going to give them a voice at our events. And we are going to get and come together to create, again, what I'm going to say is consistent talking points. Understand the enemy is terrific and the media is complicit in giving specific talking points that they believe the people want to hear. And whether it is about what I'm going to talk about tomorrow night, which is HR 1, it is the COVID relief plan, which isn't relief at all. It's about other national plans, the Equality Act that is coming, that is an utter disaster. I want you to share this video, if you would, with the people around you that are like-minded. This is segment 2. Last night was on Stand Up Michigan. Go back and share that one so that the people can sign up and join by county, join by region, because we're going to be reaching out to you and we're going to be growing under the radar. We're going to be growing in vast numbers. And again, our goal is 250,000 emails by the end of 2021. And we're going to blow through that number just like we blow through 10,000 of you that helped circulate the petitions for Unlock Michigan. As you know, it was over 40,000 of you that signed up to do that. We're going to create a place for you to share that information and share what's happening in the state of Michigan during this year and next. We need people to run for school boards again, city council, township boards. We need you to run for delegates and help with the 2022 elections. There's a lot of things coming down, but I can tell you that our GOP is stronger than ever. It is tied to grassroots organizations across this state. And that no matter what you think of that leadership, I can promise you they are listening. And our leadership at the House level, whether it is our Speaker of the House, Jason Wentworth, or whether it is the leadership in the Senate and Mike Shirkey, or the senators that are underneath them, or the House members underneath them, our caucus and our voices are being heard. Your voices are being heard. We just represent you. We know what you want and what you need, but we can only be the voice, but you have to stand up with us. We can't be out there waving the flag and have you show up and be keyboard warriors, but not have you sign up and not show up at a meeting and not talk to your church and say, we have got to take a stand. I'm going to cover that tomorrow night because it is something that is happening nationally. It's not something that's just happening in Michigan. We are going to infiltrate the churches with a nonpartisan message that is about freedom of speech. It is about freedom of assembly. It is about freedom of religion. All of those things that tie into our constitutional rights and freedoms, our sacred values, our citizen rights, and our constitutional freedoms, right? Those things the church has to stand up for, because these acts, this Equality Act and whatever, is a direct assault on the churches and religious freedoms. And if they sit back and don't talk about it and don't get people active, that is then they are complicit in the destruction of the church in America. And I won't stand for it. The people are going to rise up and say, I want them to be heard. It may be a leader in that church that gives the message, and we're going to be providing that through them. Or it may be inviting up a Stand Up Michigan County coordinator or a county leader who's going to speak in the churches throughout your county. That is going to be a big way, because it isn't just about speaking. It's about the results. It's about the goals. Those church leaders and those church people have got to be the solution in your community, and they have to begin speaking with one voice. Georgia has passed an incredible legislation. I see that from Carrie on here. I can tell you, yes, and Garrett is doing lots of calls to action, and I'm sharing information as I get it with him. And he's in Florida right now enjoying palm trees and freedom and for a few more days. But he's got an event coming up on Saturday that he's going to be at about, again, opening these schools. But how many times do we gather together on the steps? How many times do we get there and scream and holler about what it is we are defending? And then we go home and we are complicit again. It's changing, though. Counties are censoring. There's things that are happening all over. So I don't want to go on and on here. I want to let you know that, again, all the voices of conservative thought and talk are sharing information and knowledge. We're going to be sharing talking points, and we're going to be pressuring our legislators in the areas they need to be pressured on current and future legislation and acts that they need to take on our behalf. Election integrity is going to be at the forefront of this, and there are bills that are being passed in other states that we are passing through. I'll cover that tomorrow night on the national stage, but bills that are being passed in other states or being looked at a federal level, and that we are going to be passing those through to our legislature to make sure that they can pass these in our state, again, to protect the sovereignty of the state of Michigan, to protect the rights and the voter rights and the elector rights of our legislature and of we the people, and not pass it along to this federal government in any way, shape, or form. I appreciate all of you. I appreciate the time that you're giving me tonight, and I'm not going to go any longer, but I want to tell you that there is hope in the future. We are coming together like we never have before. We are speaking with one voice louder than we ever have before, and our leaders and our elected officials are listening. We're going to be creating additional platforms for their voices to be heard and to be passed through to you. So I want you, just for tonight, to please share this video. It'll be posted in these three areas. Share it across your platforms. Share a link to this through emails to the people that you have and have them listen to this. Join us tomorrow night on the State of the Union, our national message, and have them go back, if you would, watch segment 1 on Stand Up Michigan and join us, standupmichigan.com. Join us there. Sign up for the Stand Up Counties so that we can connect off of big tech and, again, change the face of Michigan and the face of our country. I appreciate all of you. Have a great evening, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.